So I have the great honor of chatting with Kent Dickson, who is the CEO and co-founder of Yonomi. How are you doing, Kent?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
What's the weather? Where you're in? What part of the country are you in?
Boulder, Colorado.
In Colorado. So probably cooler out there than 104 degrees where it is here in Phoenix.
Yeah, it's slightly a little bit more comfortable than that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not sweating like I am. I got just trying to keep dry and so forth. Tell us. All right, number one, Yonomi came out when? When did you first release the app?
Well, we were in private beta and sort of stealth for quite some time. This platform is really under the covers, behind the scenes, is really quite complex, and there's really a lot there to build. But we knew the user experience we wanted to create, so we actually put quite a lot of time into it. So we've been working on it for 2.5 years. But I think we officially came out of stealth mode, or at least quiet modes, last summer, or in July of last year, about the time that Target Open House in San Francisco opened, and we were the original platform product launch partner for that. And that's kind of when we took the covers off and said, "Hi, we're here."
Yeah, and I'm really surprised I didn't hear about it until I got the email. Obviously, the name is unique. I think most people probably wouldn't associate the name of the app with home automation, but
right.
You sometimes have to pick a name these days and run with it. So I'm guessing, I'll just throw a guess out there, that the idea behind it was to solve, as many we've seen various ideas, from smart things to other hub systems, but yours being an app, which is unique.
Mm-hmm.
Some central way to put all of these multitude of devices out there, which it's a confusing market for consumers nowadays because there's 1 million devices and 1 million systems. So I think, I'm guessing your idea was maybe there's a way to simplify this or force people to not have to go buy some device to bring all this stuff together.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's an exciting time in the market right now, where there are so many great devices that you often highlight, and they're accessible now. It's not for the 1% anymore. There was a time when home automation, it's been. People like to say, "Oh, home automation's been there for 20 years." Well, yes, but it's been for the 1%, essentially.
Yeah, or for the geeks who just run X10,
or to the alpha geek, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's great about it today is that there are so many fantastic products. They are accessible. You can get a Nest, you can get a Sonos, you can get an August Smart Lock, and that's something that almost anybody, mainstream sort of consumer, can have now. And it's great to be able to have all those things. But what the problem that we're really solving is that, let 1,000 flowers bloom with these products. We're so enthusiastic about it, but the truth is, that when you start getting more than one of these types of things in your home, the whole is not greater than the sum of the parts. When you have a Sonos and a Nest and Hue and August and Alexa, the whole is not greater than the sum of the parts. As a matter of fact, it's actually less, right? Because suddenly now you have these great products, but you have to sort of program and control them all in their own way, and you kind of have to learn the method. And so when you want to do something that naturally would be integrated, like watch a movie, which involves turning on the TV, dimming the lights, adjusting the temperature, and turning off the music,
maybe closing the drapes, or
that's like suddenly is a project. That shouldn't be a project. So we wanted to actually make scenarios like that just be ultra intuitive and effortless, and by doing so, we think we make the whole greater than the sum of the parts. But on the way to doing that, we said, I don't think that, like, regular old people, alpha geeks aside, wake up one day and say, "I wish I could buy a router-like thing that would control all my things."
That's right.
My mom has never uttered those words, and that's so we're trying to design experiences that are very accessible, both in ease of use and in convenience, for people to really kind of create great user experiences with the existing things. And so the obvious answer to us is, You have to use something ubiquitous, and that ubiquitous thing right now is smartphones.
That's right. And you're on both
Yeah.
platforms. I'm not an Android user, so I don't know what the app looks like on Android, but it looks pretty great on iOS.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we really think that user experience in general is very key. Again, simplicity, cleanliness, and
It
things
looks
like
like you
that.
guys actually designed all of your own icons, which I give you
Mhm.
serious props for because I'm also a graphic designer. And I looked at that and I'm like, they went and designed all this stuff. That's really impressive.
Yeah, yeah. So you need to have a design language in a way for people to really associate their things with activities, with routines and everything else. And so we cared a lot about what that user experience was like. And of course, it spans, its user experience to us is bigger than just what you see in the app. It's actually what you're experiencing as you're using products. And as time goes on, you're almost certainly pulling out your phone less to do things. You're using other interfaces like Amazon Alexa now to fire your routines. In the future, other voice services. You're using maybe widgets on your phone rather than unlocking your phone to kick off your routines and device actions. And there's a lot of exciting things that we're working on to make that experience, again, just more accessible, more intuitive, and simpler. Simplicity is really the key to all of that. It's sort of the last mile for the smart home, and that's where we're really trying to push.
Yeah, and you guys have beat other companies to to the game in terms of even linking certain devices. I had looked for many months to link my original August smart lock to, well, anything else outside of August's own, just couple integrations that they have, which are generally one way. You guys beat Smart Things to the punch. They apparently still haven't done anything with that meaningful. We mentioned Yonomi on the very end of one of our recent Q&A episodes, and one of my watchers just commented that he was over the moon when he downloaded the app and found out that he could actually control his August with his Amazon Echo, which I have done the same thing, and I was just floored. I'm like, finally, someone did this. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys can sort of connect all these different things because you're the third neutral party trying to bring everyone else together. And so I think you almost are able to do this when other companies might be hampered by strange bedfellows or whoever they have to play nice with in the industry.
Sure. Well, our approach very much is to be agnostic. We're technology agnostic, we're vendor agnostic, we're ecosystem agnostic. I just had
That's the
something.
right way to be. It's the only way to do what you're doing.
Well, so the home is and always has been heterogeneous, right? There's no such thing as a homogeneous home. All the devices in your home are certainly not going to be Apple HomeKit devices.
Nope.
Some of them will be because they'll be best in class, but you'll have other things that are best in class that will never be HomeKit things. It'll be Nest or Sonos or what have you, and furthermore, again, going back to simplicity and the average consumer, my mom, those people shouldn't have to know what HomeKit is. Shouldn't have to know which wireless radios are inside those devices or which protocols they support. They should just be able to go, it's like, this is a fantastic product. It's beautiful. It's easy to install. It's whatever it is. I want this, and it's coming into my home, and I just expect that it's going to work with other things. And so agnosticism, to your point, is the way that you have to be. I mean, we recognize that very early, that there's never going to be one Uber platform or Uber ecosystem or Uber standard to control all of this. Android, iOS, are, you can't say one's winning over the other because they're clearly going to coexist forever. So we have to embrace both of those to begin with, and then embrace all the other ecosystems and wireless technologies.
And you work with right now, like today, this is late June. I don't have the list pulled up, but it looks like somewhere between 40 and 50 devices, many of those devices are in a, accessed via like a hub or a bridge, like all the Philips Hue devices. It looks like around 40, maybe 40 to 60 total devices,
Yeah, it's over
which
60
is great.
now. Yeah.
That is fantastic. And a wide range from smart locks to lights to, like you said, Sonos, even the Jawbone. You can go to their website at Yonomi at yonomi.co and see that whole list, or just download the app. So I guess here's, before I ask a couple more like technical questions, are you focused right now basically on basically just continuing to add more integrations sort of as quickly as possible to round out, the rest of the ecosystem of devices at this point?
That isn't the only thing that we're working on. There are a number of things that we continue to push on to make for smooth user experience, and there's a lot of really fascinating challenges involved with doing that, and we learn more and more as our user base grows and grows. We see more and more edge cases and combinations and home environments that are slightly different. So we're continuing to rev the app and the platform that powers all of that to be able to more seamlessly solve user problems and issues, and create hopefully very intuitive and seamless user experiences. And so that, we're always going to keep investing lots into just making everything smooth and easy. Making sure people are always going to be successful. So that's really thing one. And then the number of integrations that we do, are driven largely by popularity. Our users tend to talk to us a lot and send us notes and say, I love what you're doing, and you are working with 80% of the things in my home, but here's the other 20%, please get to those. And so we listen to every single one of those requests we get, and those influence our development priorities for integrations, together with what's the utility of this thing, so both popularity and then the utility. If we really add this to our lineup, are we making the whole greater than the sum of the parts? And that's really where the prioritization comes from. So we actually slowed down for a couple of months on new product integrations because we were pretty happy with the ones we had, and we were focusing on other things. But I think you'll see in the next couple of months we'll have a lot of pretty exciting announcements of tons of new things that are coming out.
That's great. It looks like, and I know I'm an odd use case because I've been in home automation for so long that I was there before all the apps and so forth. I use a server-based system on my Mac called Indigo to run everything. So when I test and I evaluate and I'm actually using this, I use Yonomi with the Amazon Echo and my smart lock because everything else in my home is tied into the other system. Although I've tested heavily the various like 4 products that I can integrate with it because everything else is Insteon. What I noticed was it's great that the app can largely communicate with systems that are cloud-based, so that you can, even if you're not at home, your scheduled routines and whatnot will still run because you're going out and making those connections. Is that most of what you're connecting to are devices that really are going to be able to have some sort of API that you can talk to instead of like a local, like Bluetooth only device?
Both, really. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is another thing that we recognized earlier. Boy, it sure would be nice as a developer. Wouldn't it be great if everything was just available through a cloud API? That makes our lives so much easier. But guess what? That's not reality, and users don't care. They, again, back to that. Like, we just have to solve those problems to make their lives easier, not ours. So one of the reasons I mentioned we've invested pretty massively into this platform is we recognize that, hey, this is more than just a cloud integration bus. This is a thing that actually does sometimes need to reach into the home or onto locally connected devices and send them commands and get statuses from them too. So I think the greatest example of that is Sonos. Sonos today does not have a cloud API for developers. They only have a local SDK on the local network. And so to be able to coordinate your things in routines, Sonos is just such a killer and important use case that we've gone to great lengths to be able to sort of use the app not just as an app, but also as a virtual gateway, if you will, to be able to reach out directly to devices and send them commands.
Can you do that?
That's pretty unique. That's a unique thing that we've done.
Can you do that? Can you control something like that's a local only device when you're outside of your own network in terms of over you're away from home? I don't know why you would want to start playing music over Sonos when you're not home, unless to scare away burglars. But in 30 seconds or less, can you explain that? Is that even possible?
It is possible, but there's a caveat, of course, because of this notion of virtual gateway that I just mentioned. There has to be a mobile device joined to the local network that can deliver that message. And so what we see a lot of our users doing is using their tablets, which rarely leave the home.
Right, that's
They're
true.
almost always plugged in, right?
So
you're leaving your iPad at home, Yonomi's running on that, and
that's your interface.
Your routine runs that says, oh, it's time to turn on classical music, or maybe sound an alarm over the Sonos, which is another thing we can do. Then there still is a way for that message to get to your Sonos.
Kind of like how what Apple's doing with the third and fourth generation Apple TV. They're getting back into your network through that if your device isn't at home. But we won't talk about HomeKit. That leads me to some of my other sort of couple of just questions, because home automation at the end of the day, at least for the geeks, and people who really just spend a lot of time working with it, is things like sound effects and obviously playing music and making fun alerts. People used to do all the Star Trek stuff. So I guess you were saying, yeah, you can play alerts and alarms and things like that through Sonos. What about, I guess you have some exciting announcements coming up in the next couple months. I'm not going to ask you to give us a scoop on that. But what about people who don't have a Sonos, in terms of, I think, will there be ways that Yonomi can talk to some sort of universal, I say this universal sound device that's plugged into your sound system? So if you don't have a Sonos, you've got something less expensive or whatnot that you can still kind of hook into that and play tones or alarms or something that's more fun than just say a notification on your local device there.
Right. The short answer is that yes, inevitably. As you know, there's a lot of great things that are on the market right now that are retrofitting old sound systems, and then next generation sound systems that are coming that can make this possible. So I think that you'll see the things that we have done with Sonos now, because it's a pretty advanced platform. We're able to do sound effects. We're actually able to do announcements over your Sonos,
like speech to text.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a weather announcement, for instance, which is one of the out-of-box things that announces the weather out of your Sonos. But you can create a routine basically that can say whatever you want it to say. Mine tells me on Monday morning at 7 a.m. don't forget to set up the trash. It's trash day.
You literally answered one of the exact questions I had on my list.
Oh, good.
Now I need to get a Sonos.
Yeah, no, of course, everybody does. But that type of functionality, there's actually a lot of really interesting challenges in creating those capabilities. And as mentioned, Sonos is an advanced platform, and we were able to do that there. So as other audio capabilities emerge that open up those types of things, absolutely. We're going to be agnostic. We want to support everybody and create this experience for everybody's home.
I know you have a limited amount of time, so I just want to try and get a couple last quick questions in here. I know on everyone's mind, and Apple and Google with their systems, and I'm sure with Amazon's to a certain degree that they've talked about it, everyone is always talking about security. For the viewers who haven't downloaded and used the app basically consists of you, the user, linking your existing accounts or devices or hubs right into the app. Entering your credentials. So I guess my question is are those credentials, without getting too technical, is that stored somewhere? Is it in the app? Is it in some kind of cloud service that you guys are providing? and how is the security context of that?
Yeah.
People are going to be like, well, can I trust Yonomi? Because now they're like in charge of connecting all of my devices.
We never touch your credentials.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that because it's a really important point. And so we authenticate with third parties through a process called OAuth. Again, without getting too technical.
Right. The geeks and I will, and you will know what that is.
So most people are familiar with this. So it's for instance when you do go to a website and says you can create an account here, or you can sign in with via Facebook or G+ or whatever. In that case, you put in your credentials, but that website never holds your credentials. So we do a similar thing. When you authenticate your Nest with Yonomi, the frame that pops up for you to type that into is actually owned by Nest. So it's within the Yonomi app experience, but it's a Nest thing that you're logging into. And then Nest hands us a token that says, okay, Yonomi, this user authorized you to access their account, and you can use this token to do so. But we never handle your credentials, which is great because, and that also is nice because then when you go change your password, which you should be doing all the time with all these services, we're unaffected by that because you have already granted us access, which you can revoke at any time, but we don't have access to your password.
That's kind of what I thought you guys were doing, but thank you for explaining that so that it takes
it's extremely important. Yeah.
So the app is free right now. You guys have done an amazing amount of work for the app for free. There's no ads. Will the app continue to be free? Can consumers continue? I guess as Yonomi is a business, I don't know if it's a full-time thing for you guys or a part-time venture. It's venture capital. You guys have $100 million in the bank, whatever. But it's amazing. It's an amazing app even right now for free. And I'm at some point, is it going to be a freemium or being charged for? It's a fantastic service for free.
Yeah. Well, and we intend for it to remain free. So that's the short answer to the question. The reason that we do is we think that this sort of service just feels to people as we talk to them like it should be free. We have lots of people who say, "Oh, we love it and everything else. Can we pay you for this?" Or the point is we intend for it to have it be free because that's what we think that consumers really want, and two, to not ever sell any personal identification or personally identifiable information. So that's the other question, is we don't monetize it by selling your data either. But the way that we do monetize it is that we haven't even started this yet, but you will see in coming months that occasionally users of Yonomi will get recommendations for additional things that they could be doing. You might have that movie routine that turns on the TV and mutes your Sonos, but we can't dim the lights because we know you don't have any connected lights. So we might suggest in there like, hey, it really might be really nice for this routine for you to have some connected lights in that TV room. Would you like to add those? And then we're not selling those. We're also not selling that as ad space. We're using this stuff that we uniquely know to make a suggestion that we think is relevant to you, which you can easily ignore, or if you do act on that and purchase it, then we get a commission.
Kind of like an Amazon affiliate link or something like that.
It's exactly that. Yeah, I think that's how you provide your service, right?
That's part of how we do. Yeah, everyone's got to make it.
So it's the same idea, and everybody that we've sort of tested that idea with has said, that's very fair. That's extremely fair. You provide a service that we get value out of, and you keep our data and our information private and safe. The occasional recommendation is something that we don't mind at all.
That's great, and it's not some kind of weird in-app purchase that you feel like obligated to do. So I think that's brilliant. It's not very
jumping off point to that if you want to execute on it.
How large is the team behind Yonomi, like right now?
We are 6 people, so we're a small startup, but we're all in on this thing to be sure. We're growing right now, which is exciting because we've sort of gained a critical mass in terms of users, partners, and connected devices, and things seem to be really accelerating for us. So we're feeling like now's the time to start scaling the company.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to do. So when you talk to us next month or next year,
right,
we hope to be much larger.
60 seconds. If you had to predict where home automation, and I guess perhaps where Yonomi might lead kind of the current home automation industry, and seeing where it's going to shape up with standards and just all the kind of things that we're dealing with in this world in the next 2 years, where do you think we'll be in 2 years?
I still think that there will be multiple standards, like not 2 or 3, but really a lot of standards. Like we have dozens of standards now for IoT, and there will be different ones then, and maybe a few fewer, but not many. There will always be multiple standards, multiple ecosystems, multiple protocols. So that will continue to be the case. There's just no going back from there now. So in that regard, it won't look different than it does today. What will be different is that there will be a lot more players. There will be more vendors, more apps, more integrators, more voice assistants, more things. Who are all trying to figure this out and coming into it and said, where's my niche? What do I do? Which ecosystem should I participate in? And how do I solve security and privacy and all of these things? I think those will never go away. So it'll be a lot like it is today, just much bigger. But I think hopefully what will become obvious to both the insiders, the people building the products and the services, as well as the consumers of it, is that openness matters. You can choose whatever protocol that you want. You can choose whichever device that you want. But if it implements some level of openness, then services like Yonomi exist and do make everything great. And it's a virtuous cycle. It's good for everybody. It's good for consumers. It's good for vendors. There's really no downside in openness, assuming you implement good security standards. That's really the only thing you need to be concerned about, is have some level of openness. And guess what? Interoperability just sort of happens.
You guys really
like us will invest in it
without products that have somewhat open APIs.
Yeah, exactly. And if you try to close down your product and make it very obscure, it's probably going to end up on the wrong side of history.
Yeah. Well, Kent, I know we've gone over a couple minutes, and you've got to get to the next big interview or whatever you're doing next this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me. And Yonomi is a great product, and I hate to sort of act like a fanboy, but I just think it's a great app that has been sorely needed, and you guys have fulfilled that, and I see great things coming in the future.
Well, thank you. That's very flattering. Thanks for saying that, especially coming from you. That means a lot to us. So we're going to keep it up and try to live up to those accolades. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and at least we got finally to chat.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks.